Now, one of the more horrible aspects of this story is that there are about 1 billion people out there prepared to say what they think happened from the comfort of their armchairs. There are quite a few others who have turned up in the village and are making pests of themselves, Holly. There's TikTokers and goodness knows what else. What's it like in the village now? What's the atmosphere like with all these people pitching up?
Do you know what? I've got to be completely honest. It's actually, the atmosphere has turned something hostile. And I think that's because you've got to remember that whilst this is a huge case that's attracted, national attention, this is still a sleepy, small little village where people are, they live there. This is their life. And at the end of the day, these people coming in, almost treating it like a dark tourism hotspot. And, there's reports of people bringing their kids and setting up a picnic by the bench where Nicola's phone was found. And it just really, it's not the right, I don't think it's the right tone at all, is it? I think it's just very, it sets a bad taste in the mouth of the locals, the people who are clearly affected by this. I mean, even the people that weren't directly friends with Nicola, they tell us that she was a huge part of the village. I mean, she was a member of the PTA at her children's school. She set up all of the mummies' nights. She was well known in the village, and also she's a character who a lot of the women there can really identify with. Their children go to that school, they have a dog, they walk their dog, and it could have been them. So this has really affected the local people there emotionally, even if they're not directly connected to Nicola. And for people to just turn up and claim that they're going to try and find Nicola Bulley by breaking into properties, trespassing. They've broken into a pump station near the river, which obviously police have already looked at. It just really, really doesn't leave a good taste, like I say, in the mouth of the locals. And I think that's created some hostility towards reporters and towards people coming and visiting, which I completely understand, to be honest.
Yeah, because they see someone with a camera or a video camera or whatever, and they don't know if that person's a reporter or an idiot. Well, sometimes it's both, of course. And so there's the same hostility, isn't there? And that happens. Now, interestingly, this kind of thing is very recent. This is almost as a phenomenon because, when we were talking earlier on about high-profile disappearances and investigations going on. Of course, the disappearance of Millie Dowler is probably the most like this in a way, in that she just appeared to disappear out of thin air. Everyone was treating that as a missing person for a very long time. And the police investigation got really stuck and went down some very deep and dark rabbit holes and got nowhere near finding Levi Belfield, who had actually snatched her in the road and who and then went on to kill other people because the police hadn't caught him. So, but when that happened, you didn't have members of the public turning up in where she disappeared in Surrey and saying, I can fix it. You had the problems with the News of the World and phone hacking and things like this, but you didn't have, and you haven't had with the Suffolk Ripper that I covered, and you haven't had with Christopher Jeffrey's case. You didn't have members of the public, perhaps someone local who's a bit interested, but you never had a member of the public come travelling a distance to have a picnic where Millie Dowler was snatched. That's very recent. Why do you think that is? Is that just social media that kind of dissociates us from reality in some way? And it
100%. 100%. I think it's all down to social media. Actually, I think social media. Even in my lifetime. I'm 27, and when I was 15, 16, it's like Facebook was only really getting started, and now fast forward, 10 years plus, and we've got TikTok, Instagram, Be Real, all of this, just an explosion of these social media sites, and I think it's really the sort of the ones where people can share their views and videos and clips like that. YouTube, again, that's come on a long way. And I think that there's a real interest now in sort of video content, which most of the time is great. But we've seen the rise of things like urban explorers and people who will just kind of freely go on to other people's property to make a good a good piece of video footage that's interesting to their viewers, and obviously that as they amass more followers and the algorithms, that more of their videos are being watched, it gets shared nationwide, and more people are seeing it. And then obviously that again, maybe people who wouldn't have watched the news, or people who don't maybe wouldn't have watched the Nicola Bulley case unfold on Sky or BBC or in the papers or whatever, now they're seeing it on TikTok, and they think that they can go along and kind of take part of it because of the way that debate is being, the narrative of that debate, I guess, on social media, which isn't governed by things like Ipso and, Ofcom, which obviously makes sure that we go about things in an ethical and correct, legal way. Do you know what I mean?
Mm. And it's laughably, some of the people who will be following that stuff will be saying it's because they can't trust the media, whereas what the person you're following is literally just some bloke in the street. But I'm going to have a Strepsil. Now, we're going to have to move on to the next story, but it's worth... I mean, I'm sure there are people in what Holly just said there who, like me, because we are 20 years older than Holly, are going to have to go away and Google about 5 of the things she just mentioned and find out what the hell that was. But thank you for explaining it, Holly. There's another bit of a conspiracy theory that I ended up on last week, which was that Nicola was a figment of artificial intelligence. That her persona had been created. It was all fake, and Lancashire police were involved in a big conspiracy, trying to terrify everyone into getting microchipped so the government knew where we were at all time. This is called chipping, apparently, which I thought at first was a bit dirty, but no, it's just putting a microchip in you. I was quite disappointed to find that out. But there's all kinds of just mad stuff going on about this, and you need to remember there is a family that have lost their mum and their partner and their daughter and their sister, and that could be just about any one of us that have just disappeared off the streets. Let's hope that the police manage to find some proper answers at some point this week.